Hey guys, my name is Jesse, and welcome to a new series on Cowboy for Game where we look at the current Forbidden list and try to bring off every card on the banned section. I feel like this is not only a good thing for the playbase, but also a good thing for Konami, as it will likely bring back more players back to the game as they can play the cards and decks that they want to. I know for a fact that a lot of players quit the game due to their favourite cards/decks not being able to be played. So there are a couple rules for the series. Now, we can't just add a hide once per turn rule. I know that fixes a lot of things, but it's pretty boring in my mind. Also, it can't be broken, and it can't be played in 100% of decks, but it should be able to be playable in most decks, or should have a deck surrounding it that is playable. Also, we're not bringing it to unlimited, we're just bringing it off the Forbidden list. So that could be to limited, semi-limited, or unlimited if we feel like it. I feel like we're not going to go really to the semi-limit list because it shouldn't exist. So the first card I want to look at is actually one of 3 cards that is still on the Forbidden list that was on the original Forbidden list in 2004. And that card is Yata-Garasu. Yata-Garasu's card effect reads, this card cannot be special summoned. This card returns to its owner's hand during the end phase of the turn it was normal summoned or flipped face up. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, they skip their next draw phase. Now this card was banned due to the Yata-Lock, which is a deck that utilised the Chaos Emperor Dragon, Envoy of the End, and Yata-Garasu to lock your opponent out of being able to do anything by sending all cards in both players' hands and on field to the grave. Now if you had Witch of the Black Forest or Sangan on the field when you used Chaos Emperor Dragon's effect, you were actually able to search out Yata-Garasu, normal summon it, and attack directly to skip your opponent's draw phase, thusly executing the Yata-Lock. So, how do you change such a powerful card and bring it back into playability without changing it too badly? Now this lock is very powerful and potentially game-ending when executed properly. However, in the current state of Yu-Gi-Oh! I believe it is pretty fragile, especially going second. There are multiple effects that you do need to get off before being able to even summon Yata-Garasu, which includes a card called Painful Choice, which is actually still on the Forbidden list and we will be looking at in the future. So I suggest a small errata to Yata's second effect. Instead of being returned to the player's hand in the end phase, thus allowing the player to normal summon it back in their second turn and continuing the lock, Yata-Garasu should be sent back to the deck. Now I can hear you say, but Jesse, you can just draw into Yata in your next draw phase and continue the lock, and yes, I agree. But we're only looking to limit the power of the card, and the likelihood of drawing Yata-Garasu out of what would be a 30 card deck at that point is quite unlikely, especially being at 1. So yes, I understand that there are cards that could search it out. But from my research, there's no real cards that could directly search out Yata-Garasu and continue the lock in your second phase. There is also the option to send Yata-Garasu to the graveyard instead of back to the deck in the end phase. This was my second option. I don't mind it, however, it just completely stops the deck. It completely stops the lock, and I feel like it's not playable at that point. Or at least way less playable than it would be sending it back to the deck. And if you did send it to the graveyard, you would need to use cards such as Pot of Avarice to return it back to the deck, which in my mind is in that really weird level of I need to see the card, whereas sending it back to the deck, you still have that chance. And potentially with an errated Painful Choice, you could add it back to your hand anyways. Now, the ability to completely shut out your opponent for 1 to 2 turns is still very powerful, even in the current state of the game. But having to go through 5 effects before even being able to summon out Yata-Garasu without being ashed, without being impermed, without even being, well, not Nibiru, gammed, or anything like that, and going second, so you're probably running into an Adamancipator board, I think we need to give this card a chance, and if it's still too much being sent back to the deck, then send it to the grave. Errata it again. They've already errated Chaos Emperor Dragon, 6 times at this point, so what's stopping them from errating it another time? They haven't errated Yata-Garasu yet, so either sending Yata-Garasu back to the deck or to the grave in the end phase is fine in my mind. I don't think it'll completely break the card, but I do think it is good enough just to bring it off the forbidden list and just limit it. So, do you agree or do you disagree? Don't be afraid to let me know in the comments section. And of course, don't forget to comment on what card we should tackle next. I have in my mind 2 other cards, so let's see if you can guess them. And as always, please like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. It's pretty cringe, bro.